Hello, everybody. I'm John DeSciullo, and welcome to The Big Picture. Phil Arno is on assignment, Penny Wolfgang on vacation. But on that note, it's time to remember a giant, and that's Regis Philbin. And I guess I'm honored that I'm able to sit in today because Regis Philbin, the legend of television and broadcasting and motion pictures and stage and screen, passed away. And I had a wonderful relationship with Regis over the years from my time at WKBW right here to WBBZ. You're going to see an interview in just a little bit that we conducted with him in 2015 when he came to Western New York to host an event with the producers and writers of the David Letterman show that had just gone off the air. And it was an opportunity for him to get to see the blueprints for the National Comedy Museum in Jamestown. So we'll be honored to share that with you in just a little bit. I have here this book. The book is called How I Got This Way, and one of the interviews that I had conducted with him was while I was at Channel 7, and I still have in the book the notes that I used when we talked via satellite. And in the notes I said, you know what, there's just one name, and that name could be Oprah, that name could be Regis, and you knew exactly who you were dealing with. And there's another name where you just say Pellegrino, and you know right away that it's the host of AM Buffalo, Linda Pellegrino. And Linda, when Regis would reach out to you, he would always say to me, get me that Pellegrino woman.
Bring that Pellegrino woman to me. I want to see her.
So welcome to the show to share your memories.
Thanks, John. We had some great memories of Regis, and you know, you always knew he was such a get. He was such a star, and you went out of his way to really make sure that he knew you and he knew us here in Buffalo, and he loved those relationships. I mean, he loved knowing about our show, and he was so supportive. He would talk about how it was important to keep going, and that our show was at 10 and his was at 9, and that he was just what he was on television. You know what I mean? He always gave you his time, and as we know, we've spoken to a lot of stars. They're not all what they seem, but Regis was. He was a very authentic person.
He was very authentic, and we're going to show a little clip here. Linda, I don't know if you ever saw this on YouTube, but after the interview you conducted with him in 2012, the folks at Seneca Niagara Casino recorded a video that they used on social media, and he mentioned you. So let's take a look.
Hi everybody, it's me, Regis, and I'm appearing tonight at the Seneca Casinos. Yeah, I'd love to see you. Come on out, we'll say hello and have some fun. We'll talk about Linda Pellegrino. Godwin! See you tonight. Bye-bye.
So there you go, Linda. You see, he couldn't get you out of his mind, even though his beautiful wife, Joy, was with him in New York.
You know, I'll tell you a funny story. I was set for an interview with him at the Seneca Niagara, and he was a little late in arriving. The weather was kind of bad, and so his plane, was just late. So I waited, and we waited about an hour for him, no problem. And finally he got there, and it was just before he was ready to go into his rehearsal. Well, he sat with me for like 20 minutes, and we chatted. And the last thing he said was, so you coming to the show tonight? And I thought, yeah, maybe, and you know me, John, work is done. I'm on my way home. And it was later already in the afternoon. We had waited for him. It was like 4:30. I was beat, So I kind of fibbed and said, yeah, sure, I'll probably be there. Little did I know, and it was a sold-out show. In the middle of his show, he yells out, where's Linda Pellegrino? I know she's here. And of course, crickets. I'm not there. I heard about that from every person who went to that show has told me that story. And I'm like, I know. And then he let me know the next time he came in for an interview. He goes, where were you that night? Who knows what he would have done? I'd maybe just stand up and say hello, but he remembers.
I wasn't going to bring that story up, Linda, but I'm glad you did, because I was there for that show, and you're right. It was like one of those oh no. But you know what? He took it in stride, and one of the things about Regis in Buffalo is he realized how important it was to promote. And his first visit to Buffalo was in 1990. Phil Buth, who ran Good Morning America at the time, used to be the GM at Channel 7, got him to come to Buffalo for the Gourmet Gala, and he came in, and I remember we met him at the airport with a Dixieland band playing the Notre Dame fight song, and we brought him to the station, and it was Regis Philbin Day, proclaimed by then County Executive Dennis Gorski. We had all this stuff, and they ran all that video that Monday on the show for like 8-9 minutes, and the ratings went up in Buffalo because people in Buffalo realized he really cared about West New York, and it helped AM Buffalo because you were just coming and stepping in as host at that time with the late Brian Cale, and we brought John Summers on board. So we fed off that energy.
And John, you were really great about that because a lot of people said, "Oh, do we really need a Dixieland band at the airport?" But you know what? It paid off for us because he loved that kind of stuff. And I don't think very many cities would have made that big a deal, that he was coming, but we did. And he never forgot that, and he never forgot you.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. I remember, and you'll see it in the interview coming up we did in 2015. Remember when he was the king of ABC?
Yeah, absolutely. And look, and then he came back and he made Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. He took that franchise and went with it. Let me tell you how sorry I was when he retired. I was really heartbroken.
Well, he was on the air more than anybody. A million minutes broke a world's record. I sent him a scepter, like a king would have a scepter for his subjects. And, you're right. These are the funny things that true broadcasters remember. And I think that's something that you are in that league, Linda. You are a broadcaster. There are people who are out there who can read the news and they do it very well and they report. But it's not every day that a person can connect with somebody like he did, like you did, and there are very few others who can talk about anything, do news, do weather, do sports even, and broadcast. And he had that gift of gab, but he also had that gift, like you were saying, where he was the same person, Kelly mentioned it this morning on the show, the same person that he was on camera is the same person he was off camera. Made you feel like $1 million.
He was, and and I have to say too that he brought nice people on the show. Kelly was always very gracious, and Kathy Lee was very, very gracious to all of us every time we met her. She's a wonderful lady, and I wish her the best when she retired. But yeah, Regis just had star power. He could walk in. He wasn't a very large man, but when he walked in the room, he owned the room. He was amazing, and he made everybody feel comfortable. He kind of, everybody was fodder for a joke. Get in here, Pellegrino, sit down, tell me about the restaurant. He always thought that, well, I might have told him that the guy who runs the restaurant that he used to love to go to in New York was like a long lost relative. His last name was Pellegrino. I figured it wouldn't hurt, God knows he went in there and said, I met your cousin from Buffalo. And the guy was like, I don't know who you're talking about. But Regis was the kind of guy you could have fun like that with,
And his agent, Kenny DiCamillo, enjoyed going to Charlie the Butcher to get a beef on weck. And when he was here in Buffalo in 2015, they stopped at Charlie the Butcher and got a beef on weck before they went over to the Hyatt, because you had done the interview ahead of us on that day with Frank and Joel. And he had Charlie the Butcher on, Drew Cerza, Marty Stein, all of the Buffalo people, because they were tied either to the Buffalo Bills or just to have a little fun. So those connections ran deep. And his executive in charge of production, Art Moore, used to be a director at WKBW. You of course, know that. He produced Dialing for Dollars.
Yeah. I think one of my highest compliments was that I was kidding with Regis and we were going back and forth. And I shot him a line and he said, hey, Pellegrino, I'll do the funny stuff.
Linda, do you remember that show, This Is Your Life?
I do, but I thought they turned that into Jerry Springer. I'm not sure.
Hey, Linda, I'll do the funny stuff.
I'm sorry.
And I was like, never more flattered. We had that kind of relationship, and we really did. I mean, we really had fun together. Every time we sat down, we could really we could talk either about serious stuff or we could talk about the biz, the business. And he was just so gracious. He was gracious. And like you said, John, at the beginning of your interview, he's a legend, and we don't have very many of those left.
We really don't. There are very few in this business, and it pays to be nice to people. And he truly was nice to people. He also appreciated what we did, like you were saying, Linda, for the show and what that franchise meant. And it was very important, as I said, for AM Buffalo. Later in the show, by the way, I brought out my collection of CDs. I got my Regis CD right here, and there's a great song that he does with Ronan Tynan, and we're gonna have that for you later on. It's a nice tribute. Linda, how are you doing? Because AM Buffalo is a long-standing show. That's where I got my start here in Buffalo. And how are you doing?
Well, and that's how I got my start, because of you, John. You know what? You were so gracious to mention it the other day. It's going to be 30 years with that show, which is amazing. And also another anniversary, it'll be 10 years since breast cancer, it also coming up in December. And my husband and I just celebrated our 40th anniversary. So it's a lot of anniversaries coming up. So I'm doing great. I'm starting another little venue called Senior Radio, which we do on WBEN. And I'm a senior now. So these things are important to me. And I love being back on the air for radio. And I think we're going to really be growing that venture. And I love it because we really can help people. We continue to help people, which are really kind of the same people as our AM Buffalo viewers, if you think about it.
Well, and so many of those people also watch WBBZ-TV, and
Right.
We're here at your hometown Meet TV station, and we unabashedly say it's okay to be over the age of 50. It really is, even 60, even 70. And so many of the shows that we run on Meet TV, Regis appeared in some of them. I didn't know if you knew, but he played in westerns. He was on Get Smart. He did a lot of those fun shows. I'm hoping that Meet TV pulls some of those classic episodes out.
It's funny because I was watching the Yankees yesterday, and Paul O'Neill was one of their pitchers. Now he's one of their announcers. Paul O'Neill was a wonderful player for the Yankees. He was the guy who was on Seinfeld when Kramer asked him if he could hit 2 home runs. Okay, so it's a classic. And he was mentioning that every time he went to a restaurant in New York, if he bumped into Regis would mention that. Say, there's Paul O'Neill. He was on Seinfeld, because Regis loves Seinfeld. And so they were actually talking about it on the air yesterday, that they're going to miss him. I mean, because every place that they went to, Regis seems to be there. And that personality, that wonderful sense of humor is going to be missed.
He's definitely going to be missed. He was ageless to me and ageless to you.
Yeah.
And we were very blessed to have many dozens of connections with him over the years, for many, many years. So we're going to stand by, Linda, because we're going to have that interview that we did with him in 2015 in just a little bit. But happy 30th anniversary on Channel 7 with AM Buffalo. Glad to see that you are healthy. You did beat breast cancer. You're an inspiration to women everywhere. And we'll be listening to you on Senior Radio Buffalo and WBEN at 11 a.m. on Saturday morning. And thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Johnny. Love ya. Talk
Love
to
you
you
too.
soon.